But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8 of them.
Right. Well, I mean, California is an interesting case study, isn't it? It's the size of 21 state populations combined.
Yeah.
2/3 of the state is very deeply red. We don't need to be lectured on rural politics or border issues. I mean, in so many ways, these are familiar issues, and the issues of the heartland of the United States are very much a part and parcel of the work we're doing in this state. But look, I understand this notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things. You can't talk the language. You're not able to communicate, and you're not able to actually encourage and find that common ground.
No, it's stuff like there's a new law.
Bill Maher left his audience stunned during a live TV showdown with California Governor Gavin Newsom, boldly challenging progressive policies and exposing contradictions in real time. In a tense and unfiltered debate, Maher pushed back hard, refusing to let Newsom evade tough questions and demanding clear, direct answers. As the exchange heated up, Newsom found himself under intense scrutiny, struggling to defend his stance against Maher's relentless questioning. Maher's sharp critique underscored the deep divisions within the left, highlighting the growing difficulty of defending certain policies when confronted with their real-world consequences. His fearless approach signaled a shift in the conversation, demonstrating that political strongholds, no matter how dominant, are not immune to accountability. As Maher exposed inconsistencies, Newsom struggled to respond, revealing the limits of ideological rhetoric when faced with hard facts. This explosive debate is more than just a headline. It's a wake-up call, showing that even the most prominent Democratic figures must answer for their policies. Watch the full exchange to see why Bill Maher's confrontation with Gavin Newsom is sending shockwaves through the political landscape.
This notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things. You can't talk the language. You're not able to communicate, and you're not able to actually encourage and find that common ground.
No, it's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
It's almost shocking to see Bill Maher taking the role of the hard-hitting interviewer, pressing Gavin Newsom with the kind of tough questions that rarely make it past the filter of mainstream media. Typically, politicians like Newsom glide through interviews unchallenged, especially on platforms that lean in their favor. If he were on Field View, for instance, he'd likely be met with nods of approval rather than the relentless pushback Maher is dishing out. But now we're about to witness Newsom do what he does best, deploy the ultimate politician's playbook. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that he's a master at dodging, deflecting, and spinning his way out of tricky situations. Watch closely, because this is the moment where he'll attempt to gaslight Maher, reframe the argument, and shift the focus, anything to avoid directly answering the uncomfortable questions he's been backed into a corner with. But will it work this time? Or has Maher finally forced him into a debate he can't escape?
And then whenever I read 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds. Right. No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds. We grow a boatload of almonds.
I'm well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds. Yeah. Come on, man. take on Big Almond.
Take on Big Almond.
I mean, it's not like we don't have the water.
No. You're right about it. It's not that we don't have the water. That said, the last couple of years were tough. I mean, but it's also where the water's falling and we're not capturing it. And we're not capturing those extreme years with these atmospheric rivers. Wets are getting a lot wetter, dry's drier, hot's getting a lot hotter. And so we've got to modernize our conveyance system. We've got to modernize our storage, not just above ground, but below ground. And so that's a big part of our focus and frame, including desalinization plants. We have 20 projects just on desal that we're working on today. So we put out a detailed water strategy that includes, by the way, getting that Delta Conveyance project back up and operational, and includes the first above ground off stream storage facility in half a century in the state, which, by the way, is being aided by a regulatory package I pushed forward to reduce red tape in the state of California and address the permitting quagmires that you rightfully pointed out.
See here. You're good at this.
What?
See, I'm telling you're good at this job. Okay, but here's, I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. This has been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country.
That was a whole lot of words that amounted to, well, not much. But credit where it's due. Bill Maher actually pressed Gavin Newsom with a real, substantive question. He brought up California's ongoing water crisis, a problem that directly affects millions, in Newsom's immediate response. The default political talking point, global warming. Maher even threw in a half-joking but completely valid question, why not grow almonds somewhere else like Maine? Why is so much of California's already strained water supply being funneled into almond farming, instead of being managed more efficiently? But instead of engaging with the question, Newsom sidestepped it entirely, retreating into the same scripted climate change rhetoric that politicians always use when they don't want to discuss real solutions. At this point, it's beyond predictable. No matter the issue, whether it's water shortages, wildfires, or energy policies, the conversation always gets redirected back to a broad, generic climate change narrative. It's the go-to escape hatch, allowing politicians to avoid direct accountability for the immediate, solvable problems staring them right in the face.
In this, I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that, and they were the ones making a case for that. They were making a case they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know the top priorities are homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all top of mind. But I get how those things are weaponized.
All right, so one, I got you here, because I live here and I'm not going anywhere. So I just want to make this a better state like everybody else.
Amen.
And good job this year making it rain.
You're welcome. That was my legislative priority.
It was looking bad there for a while, and we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I want you to take a moment and really notice just how awkward and eerily silent the room became when Bill Maher started pressing Gavin Newsom with tough questions. The tension was almost tangible. You could feel the uneasiness settle over the audience as Maher refused to let up. It wasn't the usual laughter or clapping you'd expect from a late-night crowd. Instead, there was this rare moment of stunned quiet as Newsom scrambled to respond. And when he finally did respond, if you can even call it that, tell me in the comments if you actually understood what he was saying. Because to me, it was pure word salad. He didn't just dodge the question, he completely sidestepped it altogether, offering vague talking points instead of a real answer. Sure, avoiding tough questions is part of being a politician, but this wasn't just deflection, it was a total non-answer. What's even more mind-blowing, after all that, Maher's audience still gave Newsom a full round of applause for a response that said absolutely nothing. That right there shows just how deep ideological bias runs. It's not about the substance of what's being said, it's about who's saying it. But credit where it's due, props to Bill Maher for at least challenging his own audience and putting these tough questions on the table, even when it's unpopular. And of course, thank you for watching and being a part of this conversation. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps these discussions alive and helps bring more unfiltered takes straight to you. Thanks again. We appreciate you.